So, you want to be an entrepreneur. It's one of those words that gets thrown around a lot, right? But today, we're cutting through all the noise. We're going beyond the flashy success stories to build the real playbook, using insights from people who've actually been in the trenches. Ready? Let's get into it.
I mean, seriously, what's the secret sauce? Do you need some kind of lightning in a bottle idea, a fancy degree, a bottomless bank account? We all have this image in our heads of what an entrepreneur is supposed to be. Well, today we're going to see if that image is even close to the truth.
And you know what? Let's start by tearing down some myths. This is what's so wild. So much of the common advice is just wrong. You do not have to be a straight A student. You absolutely do not need a college degree. You don't have to be some kind of genius inventor. And get this, you don't even need to be a huge, crazy risk taker. Those are not the price of admission. Now, that's not to say it's a walk in the park, of course not. These obstacles right here, these are the very real fears that keep people up at night. That lack of capital, that's a huge one. The potential for financial loss, the pressure on your family, these things are serious. But here's the mindset shift. They aren't stop signs. They're just hurdles you have to figure out how to get over. So if it's not about having a ton of money or knowing the right people, what is the single biggest thing holding you back? Well, according to the folks behind Shark Tank, it boils down to this: a simple lack of knowledge, not knowing how to actually build, run, and grow a company. And that is exactly the gap we're going to start filling right now. All right, let's lay the first brick in our playbook. And you might be surprised to hear that it has nothing to do with business plans or spreadsheets. It's all about building a foundation of meaning. This is such a simple idea, but it changes everything. Before you even think about profit, before you think about growth, you have to ask yourself, what meaning am I creating here? It completely shifts your focus from what can I get out of this to what can I possibly give? It's the anchor for everything else you're going to do. Okay, but what does creating meaning actually look like? Well, the legendary management consultant Peter Drucker nailed it. He said, the sole purpose of business is to serve customers. That's it. That's the whole game. Meaning isn't some fluffy, abstract idea. It's the very concrete act of serving other people and solving their problems. And the tool you use to map out how you're going to serve them, that's your business model. Honestly, just think of it as the blueprint for your entire operation. It answers the three big questions. How are we going to create value? How are we going to deliver that value? And of course, how are we going to get paid for it? And this leads us perfectly into our second section. Because if serving the customer is your purpose, then that customer has to be your North Star. They should guide every single decision you make, period. So how do you actually get to know your customer? Well, you need a plan. This little framework is brilliant because it forces you to be a detective, not a psychic. First, P, you have to identify their real problems. Then L, you listen to the actual language they use to talk about those problems. This is so important. Then A, you collect their anecdotes, their stories to get real-world insight. And only after all that can you figure out what they truly need. And listen, this is where you win. This is your ultimate competitive advantage. It's not about having a slightly better widget. It's about having a massively deeper understanding of your customer. When you know their world, their pains, their dreams, their language, better than anyone else on the planet, you build a bond that no competitor can touch. One of the best ways to do this is to build a customer avatar. And I mean get specific. Go way beyond just age and gender. Ask these kinds of questions. What blogs do they follow? Where do they go on vacation? What's on their Spotify playlist? When you can answer questions like these, you're not selling to a faceless market anymore. You're talking to a real person you actually understand. Okay, so you've got your meaning. You understand your customer inside and out. Now for the really tough part. Section 3 is all about mastering the art of execution. First up, you have a huge strategic choice to make. Are you going to compete or are you going to create? Think of it like this. Red oceans are all the existing industries where everyone is fighting tooth and nail over the same fish. It gets bloody. But a blue ocean? That's where you create a whole new market. A perfect example is Southwest Airlines. They didn't try to beat the big airlines at their own game. That was the red ocean. Instead, they created a blue ocean for people who normally drove, offering super cheap, no-frills flights. They just made the old competition totally irrelevant. All right, let's get tactical with a few essential, non-negotiable rules. 1, cash is king. It's the oxygen for your business. Run out and you're done. 2, ideas are cheap. You're looking for a good business opportunity. That's an idea you can actually execute and make money from. 3, and this one is so hard, don't fall in love with your product. Fall in love with your customer's problem. Be willing to change your solution. And finally, never forget that the greatest idea in history is worthless without execution. Success is all in the doing. And let's be real, the doing is going to be a long, tough road. You are going to hit walls. There will be days you want to quit. And in those moments, you have to burn this quote into your brain. The real secret weapon isn't being a genius, it's not luck. It's what one source calls stickability. It's the sheer grit to keep pushing forward when any sane person would have already given up. That is so often the only thing that separates success from failure. So we started with this idea that the real hurdle isn't money, it's knowledge. We've tried to share some of that knowledge today, from finding your purpose to mastering execution. But of course, learning never stops. So we'll leave you with a question to carry forward. What's the one question you still have? What's the one piece of knowledge you still need to take that next step? Think about it. Let us know.